Pandemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Live from the nation's capital, it's Saturday, the 25th of April, the year of our Lord 2020. This is a War Room Pandemic special, Descent into Hell Part 3. The Chinese people confront the Chinese Communist Party. Right before we bring on a citizen born in China, but now a citizen of the United States, a naturalized American citizen, and a deplorable, Jun. I want to go back to what Miles said. Remember, when all information comes out, you're going to find out the technology, the money, this professor up at Harvard, all the universities, they've been hand in glove with the Chinese Communist Party, been hand in glove, taking money, taking the big cash coming out of China. It's just not the Wall Street banks and the hedge funds. They all took the money too. The corporations that used the slave labor in China and looked the other way in the Uyghurs and the Tibetan Buddhists and the Falun Gong and the underground house Christians, right? It's also the institutions. You talk about a renewal. We need a renewal of our institutions to remind the institutions what they actually stand for as far as freedom and liberty goes. All they're about now is the money. Here's the reason we're in this jam. You know the reason we're in this jam? The reason we're in this jam is that the elites, the party of Davos, the elites in the Judeo-Christian West lost faith in the underpinnings of the Judeo-Christian West and took the money from the dictators. Took the money from the dictators. They had all kind of justification for it, but they took the blood money of the dictators. That's why we're in this jam. The signal and the noise. Don't get hooked up in the noise. A lot of noise. Focus on the signal. In the fog of war, focus, focus, focus. It's the Chinese Communist Party and it's their business partners. And those business partners go into all the research universities. They didn't create the P4. The science that came with the P4 lab, those scientists were trained here in the West, in joint ventures with the West, with the universities. How was it built? It was built by the French. Right? The P2 lab, the CDC, the P2 lab, I think is built in direct work with our CDC. You see the World Health, the Fauci's group has a $3.5 million grant over there working on programs. So you're going to find a lot more. I'm not pointing on Dr. Fauci. This is normal course of business. This is normal course of business. Look at that Pew study. The Pew study done by the top research firm, one of the top research firms in the United States, in a seminal study that shows the shift in the attitudes of the American people. 70% thinks she's a bad guy. 2/3 think that the CCP is a real present danger. 90% think that the United States has to lead the world because if the CCP leads it, it's going to be a bad place. Huge numbers. Crickets in the mainstream media. I've said from day one, for the years I've gotten everything right. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy. The reason I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, it's in your grill. You don't have to know conspiracy. It's up in your face. It's in your face. But I also don't believe in any coincidences. There are no coincidences. Okay? The reason you're at home with no money, no job, no pension fund, no sports, you can't go out on a beautiful spring day, you got to wear a mask in the nation's capital, in the capital of the greatest democracy in the history of mankind. We have to wear masks when you're sitting there talking. Do you understand in future times you're going to look back how humiliating that is to a free people? And I'm not arguing the health issues here. I'm saying the symbolism is this is kowtowing to the Chinese Communist Party. And no, it's the reverse of racism. To have that firewall up, supported by American technology and American money, so that the people in China, who's a 4,000-year-old civilization, can't freely communicate on the internet with anybody, that's the racism. The racism is that, they don't really know how to handle themselves. That's why they have to have a dictatorship. That's why we look the other way. We look the other way because they have to have a dictatorship because they can't possibly, 1.4 billion Chinese, they can't possibly govern themselves. Have you looked at Hong Kong? Those kids in Hong Kong are the same as the Patriots in 1775, and all of us should be humiliated that we did not back them up more. They just put the top 20 guys in prison. Not one peep from the United States. We're all going to be held accountable for this. We're all going to be weighed and measured on this. We're all going to be judged on this. And don't blame your political leaders. Blame yourself. Now, all the information's out there. You have no excuse at all not to understand this. And I tell you what, is every time in our history, in the Revolution, in the Civil War, in the Great Depression, World War II, when the American people turn, they're the most unstoppable force in the history of mankind. The resolved mind of a free people not only has done the right thing, it succeeded in doing the right thing. We should be ashamed of ourselves that we've allowed it to get into this situation. Don't tell me about the models and the this, and you got to unlock. Yes, we have to do all that. But we've lost our way, and here's how we lost it. We allowed our institutions, the financial institutions on Wall Street, the corporate institutions, the public education institutions, we allowed them all to get in business with a dictatorship that enslaved people and used that slave labor to increase their profits and destroyed the working class people in this country. That's why Donald J. Trump is the 45th president of the United States. And that's why Joe Biden, if the Democrats want to put up Joe Biden, then put up Joe Biden. And I'm not talking about his sexual harassment of the girl. I'm not talking of the young woman. I'm not talking about how he's not with the program after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm talking about Obama appointed him to be the guy in charge of the pivot to Asia. And he's totally and completely compromised by the Chinese Communist Party. Not even his dirtbag son taking all the money from him. I'm talking about him personally. He misled us time and time and time again, and to the day, and to the moment on January 31st of this year, when President Trump said, hey, I think we got to stop the flights coming in for China, Biden, as a free man, chose to back the Chinese Communist Party on their party line. You're a xenophobe, you're a nativist, you're a racist. That was Joe Biden. He had a free choice at that time. And what did he do? He backed the Nazis. He backed the dictators. Every death, Biden, would have been on your hands if we had done what you wanted to do. You're not acceptable. You do not meet the standards to be the commander in chief when we are in a war with the Chinese Communist Party, an information war and a hot economic war. And it's a disgrace to the Democratic Party that you went through a primary and never brought this topic up in the mainstream, in Rachel Maddow, in MSNBC, in CNN. We are very comfortable about how history is going to judge us, okay? We're very comfortable about that. We'll be weighed and measured just like you. We're very comfortable what side of the football we're on, the Chinese people. We'll return with the Chinese people and their confrontation with the CCP in just a moment.